on go live and you
Okay,
should be
we're
able.
now we
All
are
right.
live.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Hi,
Exciting.
guys. We are live. Yes. Hello, everyone.
Yay. We're here. How is
Yes,
everybody?
we are here. And to be honest, I was so excited about tonight's live because it's been in the work a long time, right, Candace?
It has
You
been.
are, yeah, you are really busy business owners. It keeps you busy at all times. So, yeah, we're excited to finally be able to bring you on tonight.
That's right.
And
That's
let me
great.
introduce you. So, we are talking with Candace Charee, and she's a clinically trained and certified trauma healing expert, and also a superwoman who changes lives every day in the
Thank you.
ways that are truly magical. So, yeah, let's start with a short introduction from you, right? So, you are actually one half of the duo as you work together with your husband, right?
Yes,
Yes,
absolutely.
and your business is called Effortless Manifesting with Candace Charee and Georgia Sarah.
Huh?
And you two work with people to help them transform their reality, overcome past traumas, and create their ideal life, the best life they can imagine for themselves, right?
That's right.
Okay. Yes. Tell us a little bit about your business and how you started it, how you envisioned it.
Yes. So I've been in business for 3.5 years. Started this in the height of COVID. I believe I took over the company, I think it was April of 2020, right as everyone was locking down. I was like, oh, well, I'm going to just go full steam ahead with the business right now. And, it worked out so perfectly. And I feel like, I've always been studying health and wellness and spirituality and self help and all of these things since I was 15 years old. Like, I've always been like the person that people would come to when they needed something. I was always like everybody's coach forever. So it just felt right when I found a platform and I could speak on law of assumption and helping people understand who they are and heal and all of these things. It was, for me, it was so freeing to be able to just get in front of a camera and just express, just speak, just go. Right. And so that's what I did. I started it and built it from, I think when I took over the company, because I used to have like two partners, and we ended up just kind of having different viewpoints on law of assumption. And so we were just like, you know what, I think we're better just like doing our own thing. And so it worked out fine for all of us. But I took it over and there was like 100 people in the group, in the Facebook group, and now the business is booming and over 10,000 people in Facebook and 200,000 on TikTok and just a bunch everywhere, right? So I think that it was the right time for me to start this, and it was the right thing to talk about. And I'm just so happy to be here talking about this with you and sharing our story, and just being able to tell the world why manifestation is real and healing is important and all of these beautiful things. So thank
Right.
you for,
You know what? What impressed me in what you just said is that you were what 15 years old when people started coming to you with their problems and kind of trying to get advice from you and everything.
yep.
Did you realize at that time that you have that power to help people, or was it later on and at that time it was strange and weird? Why would they come to you for advice?
No, I feel like it's always been a gift of mine to be able to hold space for people and to provide perspective and coaching. I really love it. I always was the person in the friend group who people would call for advice. They wouldn't always listen to me, which would frustrate me, but they would at least call and be like, what should I do with this? And what about my love life and this and that, and I'd always just tell them like it is, like, this is what you need to do. And sometimes they'd listen and sometimes they wouldn't. And then they'd come back and say, well, maybe I should have listened to you, But yeah, it's for me, I love connecting with people. I love being able to change lives. I love seeing a transformation and the growth of a person right before my eyes. I think that that's the most gratifying thing working in this industry, is being able to work with a person who comes to me, and 95% of my clients are women. So I'll just say for the women that come to me, and they're struggling and they're suffering and they are in pain, and being able to take them from that situation to freedom. For me, it feels like such a gift to be able to offer that to the world, and to watch them go through their journey. I just I just am so thankful every day that I get to do this, and that I get to do it with my husband now too. It's really a blessing and an honor to be able to help these women transform their life.
So basically, you take their hand and walk them through the process
Yes,
to where they want to be. All right.
absolutely.
Yeah. And I understand that many of your clients come to you because at that point they feel confused and disheartened. And even when it comes to manifestation, it looks like they try to work on it because they've heard of it or learned something about it, but it looks like it did not work for them. They
Yeah,
feel stuck in a cycle of getting the idea of manifesting, right? Getting their hopes up and then working hard on it. And at the end, just feeling that it simply does not work, right? And when they reach out to you, you explain, I understand, that their process is actually all wrong because they started at the opposite end of it, trying to manifest something.
mhm,
And that in order to achieve the ability to manifest, they need to heal first and get rid of their old trauma that is holding them back, right? And does not allow them to break the harmful cycle. Why do you focus so heavily on trauma? Why is it important to heal the trauma before starting the the other part of the process through manifesting?
yeah, and I love how you said that. A lot of people do kind of put the cart before the horse. They're like, okay, I want to do all these techniques. Can you please give me, just the best affirmation to manifest love or whatever it is? And I always have to try to redirect them and say, listen, all of these techniques are great. However, techniques are only tools to get you to the next step. But if you are, I always like to tell people this, if you are operating a vehicle and your check engine light keeps coming on, and you take it to the auto zone or whatever, and they take a look at it and they say, oh, you need a new O2 sensor, or you need a new gas cap or whatever. And you're like, okay, great. Can you clear the code for me so I can keep driving? Because I don't like the little red light. And they're like, okay, we'll clear the code for you. And you're like, all right, great. I'm driving along. And, the next day it comes back on again. You're like, oh, let me go back and clear that code again. Trauma is like that. The trigger is the check engine light. And the trauma is what needs to be actually changed or healed or removed at the root, instead of just clearing the code. And you can clear the code by just doing techniques or trying to soothe yourself, but not really changing who you truly are, not changing yourself from the core root. And changing from the core root, changing your self-concept, healing your limiting beliefs and your old trauma will then have this check engine light turn off on its own. And once you clear that code, it just doesn't keep coming back on. So a lot of people, they don't understand that healing doesn't have to be painful. It doesn't have to take years and years to do. It's not a scary thing. There are people that teach that. There are people that that focus on, like, feel all the pain until it rises through your body. That's not my technique. That's not the methods that I've learned, and that's not what I'm trained in. And my biggest thing that I feel like I have to offer is that I help people heal virtually pain-free, fast, and it's effective and it's permanent. So we're not sitting in our pain. We are transcending through and changing the core belief the subconscious is holding on to. So trauma is stored in your memories. It's stored in the subconscious mind. So your subconscious is walking around all day thinking you're still experiencing all these traumatic events because it hasn't forgotten it. It's programmed that way, right? So when you go and you heal at the core, at the subconscious level, and you change what the subconscious remembers, because remember, it's just a program, and you tell it this story instead of this old story, it can let go of the trauma now because you're replacing it. You're overriding the code and saying, oh, this is what I need to believe. And the subconscious says, your wish is my command. We don't need to believe that dad was abusive anymore. We can believe that dad was loving and wonderful and there for you. And then we can release all that trauma, and then you're not triggered anymore by abandonment or whatever it is, the thing that we're working on. So it really allows a person to move beyond the pain fast. And healing is supposed to be a joyful process. It is supposed to be a process of releasing and letting go, not feeling worse and worse after every time you have a session with someone. To me, that's not the way. Some people can get there and they like it, and that's, there's a million different modalities. But I like to say that I offer an alternative solution to trauma healing that doesn't leave you feeling like crap for months on end. And you can just rise above that pain fast, and it's life-changing. So, great question.
So I understand that it's actually the opposite of what most people believe, because many of them do not try to heal their trauma. I feel like because they think that it's a very long process, it's a painful process, and they better leave it untouched. Like, it's there, it's in the subconscious. It does not manifest in some ways in everyday life. It does not really do any harm. To just, sometimes I feel like I can be past it, and some days it just does not work. So yeah, according to you, it's a much faster process, and it's a much easier process, and also enjoyable, right? Because once you get rid of that experience, of that pain, of that trauma, you can look forward to some things that you were not able to achieve before, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the idea that you don't have to heal the same things for the rest of your life, and that, a lot of people say, okay, I feel good today, and then, next week they're back at it feeling like crap over the same things over and over again, and they're wondering, when is this ever going to end? When am I ever going to get past these constant triggers, the same thing showing up in my life all the time? I thought I dealt with that. Oh, I forgave my dad. Yeah, your conscious mind forgave your dad, but your unconscious mind didn't forgive because it still remembers it. So unless you're going in and changing your beliefs at the core, changing your trauma at the core, and revising, practicing revision, which is what I do, is an advanced method of revision, then your brain still remembers it as if it already is still happening all the time. So, I mean, there's a million ways to skin a cat. I just offer a way that allows people to move beyond it and not live in this pain day in and day out until they're just so sick of it that their subconscious is like, okay, let's stop, get rid of it now. There's just easier ways to do it, and I think more effective and more long lasting.
And I wanted to ask you about, so I know you created your own system, right? That works for your clients. But I'm curious about some of the techniques that you use in healing trauma with your clients.
Yeah, so I practice an advanced form of revision. So I learned about revision from Neville Goddard, who is the person that I studied the most during this process, him and Joseph Murphy. And he talks about revision as a way to go back and change everything. It's where it's the idea that you change the memory of something. And he talked about it in childhood trauma a little bit. In one of his lectures, I heard him talk about it with a woman where she's having issues with her father. And he said, you need to go revise your dad. You need to basically change how you see your dad and revise it. And after I heard that, I was like, yes, see, this is what I've been teaching. And I don't know if he downloaded this information to me or not from the other side, because he's been passed since the 70s. But I took the little bit of information we have on revision and created a whole process, a whole deep, guided, advanced method of changing who we are into something else, changing the old memories into something else. And I do offer a step-by-step guide on how to do this in my Manifest a Specific Person workbook, which people can get on my website. It's $99. If you're watching, you can use the code Manifest Love to save $10 on that. But that does have a whole section about trauma healing, and it has a bunch of other amazing information about how to actually manifest and heal and get what you want. But so I took this method and made it my own. It's kind of a combination of revision, hypnosis, implantation. It's so many different things like that I found to be the most beneficial. I've worked with other hypnotherapists that I've done this on, and they've said this is kind of like hypnotherapy, but this is a lot different. This is a lot deeper. This really goes and changes who you are fast. So that's the main technique that I use for immediate trauma healing. And then I have people do lots of mirror work, specific journaling, specific writing to yourself that also helps to further the process and make that new belief system stick permanently after it's done. It's like having surgery and then going back and smoking cigarettes for lung cancer. You know, you have to stop. You have to stop the thing, right? So you have good habits as well as removing the thing. So.
Yeah. Okay, I understand. And okay, we talk about self-love a lot, right? And we try to reach the agreement with ourselves where we're allowed as to experience and to show ourselves the same love that we have for everyone else in our life. So could you explain how healing our trauma is connected to developing confidence and self-love? Because that was also our topic for today. So let's dive into that.
Yes. So self-love, it can be very cliche. Like it can be like, oh, I just love myself. Well, what does that even mean, right? And I think of self-love as radical acceptance of who I am. Radically accepting the woman that I am allows me to not judge myself for perceived mistakes. It allows me to look in the mirror and love every inch of my body, regardless of my flaws, perceived flaws. It allows me to not be affected by people's opinions of me. The more that we focus on our own radical acceptance and true self-love, we're less affected by the outside world. We're less affected by opinion. We can walk in a room in front of supermodels and feel like the most beautiful woman in the room because we know our beauty shines through our core and it outpictures. And most of you have met a person like that. They might not be the traditional beauty, but they're so beautiful and you just want to be around them and you want to absorb their energy and they just exude confidence and love. And I think when you lead with love for all, for everything, include especially self, but also the world, you know, the people in your world, even the people that you don't know at the grocery store, you're just emitting love everywhere. People can't help but be drawn to you and say, wow, who is this person? She is so beautiful. He is so magnetic, whatever. So really focusing on who are you now? Who do I want to be? And removing the layers of everyone else's voice. Our voice, that voice you hear that says you're not enough, that says you're not attractive, that says you suck at this or that, that's not your voice. That's the voice of the programming from childhood or people later in life. That's their voice you're hearing. Most of the time, it's your parents' voice that you're hearing. And you think it's your own, but it's not your own. Your voice is love, pure unconditional love. You are love. God is pure love. And if it's not love, it's something else that you don't need. You don't want to embody. You don't want to bring on into your soul, into your spirit, into your atmosphere, whatever. So I always like to try to tell people, when you can start looking at your world, your universe through a lens of pure love and removing judgment for self and for others, magic happens for you because you're in the highest state of attraction in that in that state. When you are operating from pure, radical, unconditional love, nothing can get in your way. Nothing can stop you. Nothing can rattle you because you know who you are. You know how perfect and beautiful and special and magical you are. And people want that. People want to be around it. They're attracted to it. They're drawn to it. And the confidence that you seek comes from healing the trauma that is holding you back from seeing yourself that way. And that's why I'm such a big proponent of reprogramming old trauma plus mirror work. Now, a great book that everyone can get is by Louise Hay. She has a whole book on mirror work that teaches you how to do it. And I have a podcast on mirror work as well, podcast episode on mirror work that you can find as well on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, everything. But mirror work is so powerful. And mirror work coupled with reprogramming is like an atomic bomb of love for yourself. It just takes everything to the next level when you can combine talking to yourself, deeply looking in your eyes and saying, I love you. I'm sorry for all the awful things I've said about you. Forgive me for that. I'm here to show you how much I love you. And when people do this, when they start a journey of mirror work, there's a lot of releasing. There's a lot of tears that come because you've been holding on to this for so long. And I'd say 90% of the population was never taught to look in the mirror and say, I love you. Our parents didn't teach us that. Nobody taught us that till we were older. Maybe some of you never heard of that until now. But saying I love you to yourself while looking in your eyes will transform you. It will affect you. And sometimes you'll feel resistance to it. But when you keep going and keep going, it just gets easier and easier to start believing it and accepting it. So having that self-love will make someone who might have used to think of themselves as not enough, not attractive, afraid of the camera, afraid of what people think of them, to be able to stand up and say, this is me, and I love every bit of myself, and nobody's going to knock me off my pedestal because I'm a queen, I'm a king, and I'm enough. And that's the energy that I want everyone to embody and for everyone to experience in their life. And I haven't always felt that. It has not always been my story, so this is available for all of us to have this beautiful, loving, deeply understood version of yourself. This is your birthright. You deserve this. You deserve to have this.
I love how you say that. And I loved how you compared that to a voice of a program in our head.
Yes.
Because from the early childhood, we always were dependent on love shown us by someone else, right? We were seeking approval from someone else. And that's the way we are programmed to look at ourselves through someone else's eyes, through someone else's opinion on us, and never through what we are deserving of, what we are thinking of ourselves, the way we can learn to love ourselves without any regards to what anyone else is thinking about us, right?
Yeah. Oop. I think your audio cut out. I don't know what happened. She's frozen. Is she frozen for anyone else?
Yes, we got frozen for a second. Sorry. I was like, oh no, what happens?
We're jumping timelines in the universe.
Right. Maybe, right? Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I have another question for you. So the power of trauma healing, it lies in the ability to access our resilience and foster that positive change. That requires strength, right? What have you found that is the key to unlocking that strength to start the process?
I would have to say everything we've been talking about tonight. That would be reprogramming your subconscious mind.
Just to find that strength to start the process. Where does it come? Yeah, just where do you think that comes from? Where should we gather it from? Where do we take it from?
I would say honestly that what started my journey was mirror work. Just starting to connect with myself, even if you can
Mm-hmm.
only do it for a couple minutes at a time. Grab your mirror, start talking to yourself, have a conversation, look in your eyes. Even
Mm-hmm.
if you start with the Ho'oponopono prayer, which is something that you can find on YouTube. It's just 4 phrases. It's I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. You repeat that over and over again,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and the tears will come usually. So even if you have to start small like that and build up to then communicating with yourself and saying, hey, I know things have been hard for us. What do we need to do to get better? Act as if your mirror is your higher self, is another version of you, right? And you can connect with her or him and talk to them and ask them what do we need to do to move on to the next step.
Mm-hmm.
You are your own best, advocate, and we are our own worst enemy at the same time. So I would start with mirror work
Mm-hmm.
and allow yourself to build up the courage to say, okay, I can take the next step. But I think part of the fear comes from people thinking it's going to be painful, it's going to hurt to trauma heal. But healing, when you're healing, you're getting better, right? When your bones are healing from a break, it
Right.
starts to feel better. It doesn't start to feel worse. So if you're healing and it's getting worse, something is wrong. Something is off, in my opinion.
Right.
So don't think of it like it's not trauma hurting, it's trauma healing, right? So
Yes.
understanding, having that education that we're talking about right now, being able to see
Mm-hmm.
that it just it's supposed to feel good. It's supposed to feel relieving. I haven't worked with anybody yet who we did a session and they said, I feel so much worse now. That was terrible. That was so painful. Usually it's tears of joy. It's relief. It's, I can't believe I've been going to therapy for 30 years and I've done every sort of somatic healing under the planet, under the sun, and nothing has worked for me like this. One session, I cannot believe this. I hear that all the time from people. And I'm usually the last, kind of like the last step on people's journey. They hadn't either
The
heard of me,
last resort.
their
Mm-hmm.
last resort. They're like, okay, let's work. I got to work with you. I hadn't heard of this, but now what you're saying sounds really attractive. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
take that investment because it is an investment to work with me. And they invest in themselves when they work with me. And it pays off for them. I haven't worked with anyone yet who has not had some level of healing.
Mm-hmm.
And 90% of the people I work with have massive, massive healing. The 10% would be they only had 1 or 2 sessions and they needed a lot more. So, but everybody feels something. Everybody has a shift and a growth and change.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because what I do is truly different and unique. And I'm coming from a very intuitive point on my own, and being able to know what somebody needs and being able to change the story like that while we're going through this session. And if I intuitively something says, no, do this instead and take them here, implant this, being able to work with somebody who can guide you like that is powerful.
Right.
And I like to tell people, like, you can go and do your own hair, right? Or you can take your own photos, or you can go to somebody who's an expert and who's done this over and over and over again, who has a different perspective, who can do things differently for you. And you don't have to do it by yourself, right? Or you can learn how to do it by yourself and spend months and months and years maybe trying to figure it out. Or you can hire a professional who knows what they're doing, who's done it before hundreds and hundreds of times and has helped others.
Right.
That's what I like to say to people who are on the fence of, well, should I work with you or should I just try to do it on my own?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times people will come to me, like I just had a session where she said, oh, I've been watching you for so long. I've been practicing revision on my own for 6 months, but I just can't, I don't think I can get it. It's just not changing. And then
Mm-hmm.
working with me, one session, and she's like, I get it. I see why I couldn't do this on my own, So having somebody in your corner to advocate for you, but hold space for you, and also know how to guide you through the process for long-lasting, permanent results.
Absolutely. And that leads me to my last question for you. So, what is one of the examples of the most powerful transformation you have witnessed within your clients throughout your practice?
Oh,
Can you
gosh.
remember one of the
Yeah.
remarkable ones? And I'm sure you had those.
Yeah, I do. I have so many. How could I narrow it down? I'm thinking of 5 women off the top of my head right now that I work with
Choose one of them.
yeah.
Choose one of them.
Okay, so I'll talk about someone who's very special to me. She didn't started in my goddess program. We did some one-on-ones at first. She joined my goddess program. She'd been in therapy for 30 years, had so many different people trying to help her, was not able to heal her anxiety, her childhood trauma, her relationship with her father, all of these things. After working with me for a few months, now is not riddled with trauma, not riddled with anxiety, happier than she's ever been, thriving, feels great pretty much most of the time. Everyone has days, like I still have days,
Of course.
And seeing her go from someone who was holding so much stress and anxiety to this beautiful goddess who's just evolved into somebody who is confident, knows herself, has firm boundaries, knows how to say no to things now, doesn't get walked all over, knows how to stick up for herself, and is just attracting things into her life in the most beautiful way. So that story that I told you is commonplace for the women who work with me in my goddess program. My goddess program is a 3-month and a 6-month transformational trauma healing program for women where we do group reprogramming sessions. It's intensive. It's amazing. It's transformational for everyone who joins. And that's a program that I would love for anybody who is over the age of 26. And I do have age requirements. Over the age of 26, has a stable career or business, and is ready to invest in themselves. If that's you and you want more information, send me a message over on Instagram to see if you qualify. I'll send you some qualifying questions to send you all of the mini course that I did with George about healing your trauma and how to work with us on a more personal level.
So when someone wants to have questions for you or trying to figure out whether they can work with you, the best way to reach out is through your Instagram, correct?
Instagram is a really great way. Or if you don't have Instagram, that's okay. Some people don't. You can send us a message at assistant@effortlessmanifesting.com. We also will reply there and we can have a conversation that way. Reach out, see if this is right for you. See if you're ready. You have questions for us about if your situation can be helped. Most people are afraid that their situation is too difficult, but you'd be surprised at the people that I've helped in the horrific trauma that they've been in, that they now have incredible relief from.
Right. But I also would advise to go to your Instagram and to go to your TikTok because you have so much content out there that is readily available, right? And we can watch it, we can check it out, and see even your personality, kind of to see if you are a good match with people,
That's right? You
Yeah.
gotta like the person you're working with,
Absolutely.
I wouldn't hire somebody that I didn't like their energy. So.
Right. All right. Thank you so much for joining me tonight and finding time to do that. I enjoyed our conversation, and I found out some things that I didn't know before, and I loved learning that the transformation can come within a short period of time, and it does not have to be painful, long, struggling, and whatnot.
Absolutely.
There's a much easier way.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Candace.
I appreciate you having me. Have a
Loved
beautiful evening.
talking to you.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.